Welcome to Matt. My name is Ronnie Hayes, and this is the spoiler-heavy review for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I want to express this right now. If you have not seen it, this is filled with spoilers. Alright, moving right into this. The first thing I want to say is the comedy. I thought the comedy was absolutely a very welcome touch because, again, I thought there was a lot of comedy, genuine comedy, in the original trilogy. And I felt like there was a lot of genuine comedy in this one, but there was also some that was just kind of forced in there. Some comedy I don't know how I feel about yet, like Kylo Ren throwing the hissy fit and the stormtroopers came out. Now, I actually burst out laughing a little bit. I thought that was funny. However, when you take that and mix it together with, his character and how he just ended up feeling like a little bratty bitch, it kind of took away from that comedy. I would have just preferred if he was just threw temper tantrums and that was it, and he wasn't as weak. I don't know. He just had this weakness to him that I felt was shitty. I did not like. But speaking about the comedy, we had other parts of comedy that I thought was absolutely great, like the BB-8 when it did its lighter thumbs up. That shit was great. And even in the beginning when Finn is breaking Pope out, and he's like, well, you need a pilot, right? He's like, yeah, well, I need a pilot. I thought that was absolutely great. It's shit like that I thought was terrific. Even when the chick is like, stop holding my hand. Little things like that. I loved all of that. The parts where I didn't like the comedy is where it felt like they were doing the comedy just to have something funny in there. Anyway, let's go right into Han Solo's death here because, listen, as soon as this movie started playing out and it was revealed very early on that Kylo Ren was Leia and Han's son, immediately I'm like, holy shit, they're going to kill Han Solo off. Literally immediately. However, I thought it was going to come in episode 8. I was thinking, holy shit, they're going to build this, and, well, he could either kill him or Leia, but it just seems like it would be the father because of how Star Wars does the Vader and Luke, and it just felt right. But I thought they were going to have some kind of emotional face-off, like heartbreaking, he is not your son, and this is official, he is the enemy, your son is the enemy. And I really, really thought they were going in the direction where they were going to do that, capitalize on that emotion, have Han Solo come back to Leia and be like, our son is gone, have it crushing, and then in episode 8, have it where they face off again and he dies. I don't know. I just thought that should have been in episode 8. I could be completely wrong in the overall scheme of things. It might not fit, but I just felt like they should have capitalized on that more. That heartbreak. It felt like it lost its weight. And then even with Leia and her response, just didn't feel like afterwards she was mourning as much as she should. I don't know. It didn't feel as deep or weighed down. Like even Chewie, he had an outburst and then it was like everybody was fine. I don't know. I felt like I wanted a little more to that. But anyway, let me just get this out of the way since we're talking about Han and Kylo Ren before I forget. I did talk about convenience and coincidence being a problem, a heavy problem in this film. Right off the bat, everything from friggin' Rey and Finn, that whole storyline was like color by numbers with screenwriting. And I'm sorry, but it was, because as soon as they escape between Finn and Pope for no reason whatsoever is like, oh yeah, this rare droid who's orange and white. And I'm thinking, well, that made no sense for him to tell him to describe in detail. They do shit like that, and I think that is shitty writing. I didn't like that at all. I mean, I don't know. They could have done something else if they would have thought about it more. I didn't like that at all, because immediately I'm like, oh, that's thrown in there so we can connect the characters. And then it's coincidentally enough, it wasn't just that description. It was the fact that Finn was in the position to see a woman being attacked, and he's like, oh, I'm going to go help the woman, and then he's like, oh shit, the woman can handle herself. Oh shit, that's the droid. They didn't even need that. They didn't need that because now that I'm thinking about it, the droid could have just saw Finn wearing Pope's jacket. And the droid could have just been like, whoop, they could have done exactly what they did without saying the whole spiel about describing the droid. They didn't need that at all. But I'm not just saying that one scene. They do that style of writing a few times in this movie, and I thought it took away from Star Wars. You know what I mean? Though it took away from the good writing in this movie to do shit like that. So then after that, coincidentally, when they're running away, the Millennium Falcon is on this planet. Then once they leave, the very first people that find them is Han and Chewie. Now, I do really enjoy Han and Chewie back in here, but I wish there was a different way it all came together. Because it was just one coincidence after the other. And then what tops it off is what happens after that. See, because now we have the Finn and Poe lead to, Finn and Rey, and then Finn and Rey to the Millennium Falcon, then the Millennium Falcon up to Han and Chewie. And then from that point, it's like, okay, well, Han and Chewie's going to take over the Millennium Falcon, but what's going to happen? Oh, they're hauling monsters. And then all of a sudden, two bad guys that have a problem with Han, which is a callback to the old Han, the gambling, taking chances Han. And now these, two groups of bad guys, even though some of that scene was funny, I knew immediately. I saw it coming a mile away. I'm fucking sorry. I'm not a genius or nothing. It's just when you see, a lot of movies, you start putting the pieces together where, okay, they are giving us this exposition about how dangerous these monsters are. They're not wasting our time. They're telling us this because this is going to lead into something else. Well, we know that Han has to take the Millennium Falcon because that's his ship. So obviously the monsters are going to get out. They're going to have to abandon this ship and leave with the Millennium Falcon. Again, that entire shit was like paint by numbers for screenwriting. Everything from leading up into Finn, the escape, right into the Millennium Falcon to Han, and then back into the Millennium Falcon. It was just paint by numbers with coincidences and convenience, even with shutting the doors. And that CGI shit I did not like with those squid monsters. I think that was probably my least favorite part in this episode. That's why I'm dogging on it so much. Absolute least favorite with the squid monsters. I would have just preferred if they had like a Bigfoot scary beast of a monster and it started chasing after Finn. He's down the end of an aisle, or the corridor, and the monster vicious drools. He's running and drools flying in the back. Holy shit, this thing's gonna maul the hell out of Finn. And as soon as he lunges for him at the last minute, she shuts the door and boom, chops the vicious monster in half. I would have preferred some shit like that over some squid. But anyway, besides that, another thing by convenience is, in the end, Kylo Ren goes to fight, and I'm going to talk about this in a separate video. Kylo Ren and Rey. Go look for my Kylo Ren, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's what I'll call it. Go look for that video. I'm going to post it next. But we have Kylo Ren does the force shit against Rey, slams her on a tree, but then doesn't do any force shit and decides to actually fight with a lightsaber duo with Finn. And there's no purpose for it. There's no purpose whatsoever. It's the convenience like that pulls me out of a movie. He should have just forced his ass, against a tree, knocked his ass out. I don't know why he would do one and not the other. Anyway, I will stick up for some of the fighting because a lot of people had problems with Rey learning the Force so quickly. I had my problems as well, but we're going to get into a discussion about that separately, so this video's not outrageously long. Let's go to the story cycling, the recycling of story. It's always the same shit with the jet fighters in the sky and the people on the base in the ground. And like I said, it's the Death Star, or everyone's probably said this, the Death Star, it's just bigger. Even Han friggin' Solo said it in the movie. He's like, so it's just a bigger Death Star. It was kind of them poking fun at their own writing, you know what I mean? Or their own ideas, which is fine. But and again, in my spoiler-free review, I talked about in my spoiler-free review, I talked about how fans will either be like, okay, this is enough, stop recycling the same shit and give us something new, or you have fans that are like, well, this is Star Wars. This is what we want. We want this, the X-Wings, TIE fighters. We want the space battles, and then we want the guys on the ground doing the fighting there. So I get that. I understand both different opinions of the fans. I would want something in the middle where maybe we get a taste of that here and there, but I want something that's still refreshing and different with Star Wars. I really don't think they needed this Death Star shit, or at least a bigger Death Star. I don't think they needed that at all. They could have had a different story that didn't have a big battle. I mean, they could have even had a big battle that wasn't like the Death Star. But anyway, that's what I'm saying about recycling the plot. It is too much. Not only callbacks, but it's almost like repeating. It's like they remade Star Wars, in the sequel. We already talked about the coincidences and conveniences, and I did talk about the cast in the spoiler-free review. I'm going to repeat myself here. Absolutely perfect. In closing, I'll stand by my first statement that this was absolutely a very enjoyable movie to watch. I think for the most part there was more win than there was loss here. I think that with some more refreshing writing for episode 8, they have it set up for something really great. One thing I am worried about is Luke Skywalker not getting a badass ass-kicking scene. I so desperately want that because we saw Luke grow, with the Force over the original trilogy, and now he's got to be just a beast, and it would be great to see him open up just some whoop ass before he eventually ends his story arc in this trilogy. But now I'm afraid that they're going to pass that on to Rey, and although it would be kick ass to see Rey, complete her arc and become badass and fight, I still want to see at least one fight with Luke. Maybe even Luke does a major battle in episode 8 and then Rey takes over in episode 9, or they can both do one between Snook Guy and Kylo Ren. So maybe they can have a dual showdown, I don't know, but that is one thing I'm afraid of. They're going to skip over that because maybe his age, or maybe they're going to go a different direction where he is more like Yoda, where he teaches instead of fights. I don't know. But I don't think I talked about Kylo Ren as much. Here's one thing I will say with Kylo Ren. It felt like they had something solid. And then at the moment where he took off his mask and revealed himself, it started going downhill for me a little bit. He lost that aura about him that was mysterious and deadly and creepy. I don't know, he lost all that. Not all that, a little of that. And he came off as a brat. I think that's the easiest way to put it. A brat who's throwing temper tantrums and he's doing regretful shit. In the end, I think they can transform him into a very good villain. He was a little underwhelming in my eyes. But with that said, I would like to hear your guys' opinions about Star Wars The Force Awakens. I might revisit this and talk more after I see it another once or twice, That way, an empty theater and I can actually hear everything, because there was a lot of parts where we had people cheering or talking or laughing over some of the dialogue. So it would be good for me to sit down and really focus on the story here, and maybe I can revisit this in a couple of discussion topics. If there's a lot of Star Wars fans on this channel, or you guys just got here, subscribe and let me know. Voice your opinions in the comment box if you want to do a few more Star Wars discussions, mostly on the movies. I don't really want to go in depth on all the books and comics and all the lore. If you want to go over the movies and revisit the old ones and everything like that, we can do some Star Wars vids, but make sure to let me know down in the comment box if you're interested in that on this channel. Also, let me know, what did you think about Star Wars Episode 7? Leave your thoughts and opinions down in that comment box, maybe even some predictions for Episode 8 while you're at it. I'm done talking, it's your turn.
Subscribe now.